It was supposed to be just another Sunday afternoon. Children's laughter echoing through the park. The smell of barbecue drifting across the playground. A family trying to carve out one small piece of peace in a world that rarely gives it to them. But peace has a way of attracting those who can't stand to see it. Because as the sun glared down over Oakwood Park, one phone call would turn a quiet family gathering into a national headline. A phone call made by a woman who thought she held all the power. But what she didn't know was that the family she targeted wasn't just any family. They were the mayor's family. And when the truth came out, the entire city would be forced to look in the mirror. Picture it. Oakwood Park, a small green space tucked between rows of houses in the heart of a Midwestern town. On weekends it's alive. Kids chasing soccer balls. Couples walking dogs. Families laying blankets on the grass. To anyone watching, it looks like the most ordinary slice of Americana. But if you linger long enough, you'll notice the divide. One side of the park filled with white families, chatting freely, taking up space, no questions asked. The other side, where black families gather, constantly aware of eyes on them. Smiles masking a quiet vigilance. Conversations held with a soft edge, always ready to cut short if someone decides they don't belong. And on this day, the Williams family was just trying to live. James Williams, his wife Patricia, their 2 kids, and Patricia's sister gathered under a shady oak tree. A portable grill smoking with burgers and chicken. Music low, laughter high. They weren't bothering anyone. But one woman decided their joy was too loud. Their presence, too bold. Her name? Karen Mitchell. A self-proclaimed, concerned citizen. A woman who lived near the park for 15 years and believed she owned it with her gaze. And when she saw the Williams family laughing, dancing, and taking up space, she dialed 911. But here's the part that'll make you sit up. When the officer arrived, lights flashing, hand resting on his holster, he thought he was responding to just another disturbance call. What he didn't expect was to come face to face with the mayor's wife. To understand the weight of what happened that day, you need to know the Williams family. James Williams wasn't just a man grilling in the park. He was a father, a husband, and quietly, the mayor of the city. Not the kind of flashy politician you see on TV. James was the kind of man who still did his own grocery shopping. Who waved at neighbors while mowing the lawn. Who wore the same beat-up baseball cap he'd had since college. To the people who knew him, he was approachable, kind, and deeply committed to his community. But he was also a black man. And no matter how many suits he wore, or speeches he gave, that fact carried weight in a town not used to seeing men like him in power. His wife Patricia carried her own quiet strength. A former schoolteacher who'd spent years fighting for better textbooks and fair treatment for her students. She'd stood beside James through campaigns, late nights, and endless criticism. Their kids, Malik, age 10, and Jordan, age 7, were just being kids. Running through sprinklers, licking ice cream, dancing to music blasting from a Bluetooth speaker. To them, it was a normal Sunday. To Karen Mitchell, it was an offense. Because in her mind, a black family laughing too loudly, taking up too much space, grilling too much food, meant trouble. She called 911. Her voice sharp, dripping with fake concern. "Yes, officer? There's a group here causing a disturbance. Loud music. Barbecue smoke everywhere. They're making people uncomfortable. You should come check it out." Uncomfortable. That word carried centuries of weight. Minutes later, Officer Daniels pulled up. Lights flashing. Siren cutting the air. Families on the white side of the park barely looked up. But the Williams kids froze. Patricia's smile faded. James stood slowly, hand shielding his eyes from the sun as he watched the cruiser stop. He knew this moment all too well. How quickly joy could turn to danger. The officer stepped out. His hand hovered near his holster, not drawing, not relaxed. His eyes scanned the family, the grill, the speaker. And then he asked the question that set the tone. "What seems to be going on here?" Not a greeting. Not a smile. A warning. Karen Mitchell stood nearby, arms crossed, waiting to be validated. She was certain the officer would scold them. Maybe shut down the grill. Maybe write a ticket. But as Officer Daniels turned to her for clarification, she smiled smugly. Yes, officer. These people are out here being disruptive. Loud music. Scaring the children. She emphasized these people. And that's when Patricia spoke up. Calm. Clear. Unshaken. Officer, do you know who you're talking to? This is my husband. Mayor James Williams. Silence. The air cracked like thunder. Officer Daniels blinked, taken aback. His posture shifted. His hand dropped from his holster. He looked at James again, really looked this time. Karen's smug smile faltered. Because suddenly, the narrative she thought she controlled slipped out of her hands. The confrontation that followed would be remembered for years. James didn't shout. He didn't raise his voice. He simply stepped forward and said, "So this is what it comes to? Even as mayor of this city, I can't take my kids to the park without someone calling the police on me?" The crowd that had gathered grew silent. Some looked ashamed. Others looked uncomfortable. Karen sputtered. I didn't know who you were. I was just trying to." But James cut her off. "That's the problem. You saw a black family. And you assumed we didn't belong." Every word landed heavy. Every pause carried weight. And the officer, now realizing the gravity of the situation, tried to de-escalate. "Sir, ma'am, I apologize. Clearly there's been a misunderstanding." But it was too late. Because the whole park had heard. And within hours, the whole city would know. News spread fast. Social media lit up with videos from bystanders. Headlines blared. "Mayor's family targeted in park while barbecuing." Karen Mitchell became the face of something bigger, a symbol of entitlement, prejudice, and the quiet violence of everyday racism. But here's the part that left everyone divided. Should Karen be punished? Or was public shame enough? Was Officer Daniels complicit for not questioning her bias from the start? And most haunting of all, if James Williams hadn't been the mayor, just another black father at the park, would the outcome have been the same? The truth is this. Dignity doesn't come from titles or power. It comes from demanding respect even when the world refuses to give it. The Williams family's story is more than a headline. It's a reminder that resilience is built in the quiet moments. When you choose peace, when you hold your ground, when you speak truth to ignorance. And sometimes, the most radical act of resistance is simply existing where people don't want you to. Because joy, laughter, and family are revolutionary. And no one, not even a Karen with a phone, can take that away. When the video of that park confrontation hit social media, the city could no longer look away. Within hours, hashtags spread, #BarbecueWhileBlack, #StandWithTheMayor. By the next morning, national news crews were parked outside City Hall. Microphones shoved in every direction. Headlines screaming about Oakwood's dirty truth. And suddenly, Karen Mitchell, the woman who made that phone call, wasn't just a neighbor with a complaint. She was the face of everything wrong with America's so-called concerned citizens. At first, Karen doubled down. She told reporters she was protecting the community. She claimed she never mentioned race. She said the mayor's family was aggressive. But the footage told a different story. Her arms crossed. Her smirk when the officer arrived. The words, "These people." The world saw what she didn't want them to see. And for the first time in her life, Karen found herself on the defensive. Meanwhile, the Williams family tried to shield their children from the chaos. Malik and Jordan didn't understand why cameras swarmed their house. Why classmates whispered at school. Why their family picnic had turned into a national debate. Patricia worried about them most. She remembered the look in their eyes when the police lights flashed at the park, fear mixed with confusion. And James? He faced a different kind of burden. He wasn't just a father now. He was a symbol. Every word he spoke, every move he made, would ripple through a city already on edge. City council called for Karen to be fined. Activists demanded her arrest for filing a false report. But here's where it gets complicated. Behind closed doors, powerful people still protected her. Karen's brother? A wealthy real estate developer with deep ties to the police union. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from justice to damage control. Because exposing Karen meant exposing the people who'd been enabling her all along. At a tense town hall meeting, James Williams stood before hundreds of residents. Some cheered. Some jeered. Reporters scribbled every word. James looked out at the crowd and said, "This isn't about me being mayor. This is about what happens when ordinary black families can't enjoy a day at the park without being seen as a threat. If this city can't face that truth, then this city doesn't deserve to call itself home." The room erupted. Some clapped. Others walked out. But one thing was clear: the conversation could no longer be buried. In the weeks that followed, petitions circulated. Protesters marched. Karen Mitchell went into hiding. But the question lingered, louder than ever. Would the city actually change? Or would it bury this scandal like so many before? And as the Williams family tried to return to normal life, they couldn't escape the feeling that the next phone call, the next false accusation, the next moment of bias, could come at any time. Because in America, for black families, peace is never guaranteed. Stories like this remind us, the fight isn't just about one family, it's about every one of us. If you believe their truth deserves to be heard, show your love by hitting that like button. And don't forget to subscribe, because the struggle continues, and so do the stories.